Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz with another episode of Dave's Faves. And today I want to talk about my favorite recording of the Chopin Preludes, or Preludes. Prelude. You can say it any way you want. And so just whatever makes you happy. My God, these are gorgeous. Oh my God, they're gorgeous. The coolest thing about them is that they are preludes to nothing. It's not like where Bach wrote a prelude and a fugue or something like that. You know, something as preludial as a prelude to some other larger thing. No, these are freestanding preludes, but to what they're preluding, that's up to your imagination. The same thing is true. They inspired many, many later composers, most particularly Debussy, whose two books of preludes are equally enigmatic in terms of what they're preludes to, except that Debussy tells us with a little title at the end of the prelude, which is really where it belongs. You know, it's funny how nobody really sort of notes that we give the prelude the title of what it's the prelude to, but it's not. It's the prelude to the other thing, right? Okay, never mind. Chopin does not tell us what he's writing preludes to. He just writes them. And they run anywhere from, let me just look at the timings here. Well, here's 36 seconds, 34 seconds to about 3.5 minutes. The longest, I mean, the biggest two of them, or there's one 6 minutes, never mind. So it's really just a huge range of things that you can be preludial to, which really, it's just so cool. I love listening to these pieces. You listen to each one of them, and there are 24 of them, because they go through all of the major and minor keys. And you listen to each one, and then try and think about what it's introducing, what comes next, what unwritten message is being conveyed by this music. It's just so romantic and so poetic. Oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. It really is. My favorite is the one here at A flat minor. You know, it goes do 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 ya da 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 da. Oh, it's just gorgeous. It's so gorgeous. At least I think that's the one in A flat minor. It's my favorite one. I think it's number 17. I just, they're all jumbled up in my head, but it doesn't make any difference. My favorite recording of the Preludes is this one. Ivan Moravec, who was just the most unbelievably glorious Chopin pianist you ever heard in your life. And just, you know, as I always say when I talk about him, just one heck of a nice guy. An interesting man, a true aesthete. I mean, somebody who had such a sense of the sonority of the piano and love of the keyboard. And he was very, very particular about what he did. He limited his repertoire. He had amazing technique, but the technique was always placed at the service of the music. I mean, he used to have his own toolkit so he could tune up his piano if he didn't like the way it sounded. You know, he was so particular. That's why he didn't have the huge career that he, an artist of his caliber probably deserved. He was a little difficult to deal with. And he was difficult to deal with in his recordings. He recorded the Chopin Preludes twice. This is the old, I guess it was originally on Connoisseur Society, but now it's on VAI audio, and it may be totally out of print. I mean, it's just very frustrating for those of you who are missing it. However, who want it, he did do them again on Supraphon. He did them twice. I find this particular version to be superior, mostly because the recording is just better. The sonics are better. But interpretively, there's very little to choose between them. And the Supraphon version is available separately, and it's available in the Moravec box. So, you can find that easily. And one way or another, you really should hear him do these works because, they were linchpins of his repertoire, and he played them as beautifully as they can be played. I mean, really, there isn't anybody who does them better. There are people who do them different. But better? No, absolutely not. I was talking with him, about other pianists and other things. And I used to love to hear him talk about Sviatoslav Richter, who many pianists never did complete sets of their Chopin preludes. They just picked out a few. And I think Richter was one of those. Anyway, Moravec cared so much about the sonority of the piano. And he would just look at me and say about Richter, Oh, such a great artist. But he didn't care. He didn't care what anything sounded like. He played on out of tune pianos. He put his hands, and go, oh my God. It was really rather amusing. But he was a tremendous artist, Ivan Moravec was. At the end of his life, he really wanted to concertize in large halls. He made his Carnegie Hall debut very, very late in his life. And he said, I want to play in big rooms, but he didn't have like management, he just wouldn't work with people. And when it came to making records, he would record with whoever gave him the conditions he wanted to make the recording. And he didn't care who that was. So he had no single dedicated label. There was no, for example, like Decca, who came to the rescue of Nelson Freire at the end of his life to make a whole bunch of fabulous records. There was nobody who was going to do that for Moravec because he would record for anybody. The idea of exclusivity was something he never really dealt with. Most of his recordings, fortunately, are on Superphone and were boxed up. But my God, these Chopin preludes are to die for. Absolutely amazing. And that's why they're my favorites. And like I said, you can get the super fun ones easily, and do not hesitate for a minute because the differences are rather small. It's really a sonic thing. But if you can find this VAI recording, snag it. Just grab it while you can. You also get, by the way, it's not just that, you get fabulous performances of the first scherzo in B minor, the Barcarolle, which is a major work, and the Etude in C-sharp minor, Opus 25, number 7. It's 68 minutes of music. It's a serious disc full of Chopin enchantment, courtesy of Ivan Moravec. So that, my friends, is Dave's fave when it comes to these Chopin preludes. Go forth and listen, and keep on listening. Take care.